Hello, perceptive readers. Welcome to the Sage's Lifetimes. One of the things that I've noticed from certain individuals in my life over the years, even though my personality is not like this, I still notice, even though they were some of the most wisest, um, I guess you could say, understanding type of people, they would certainly do things at times just to actually cause, I'm letting you know, cause people who were overly nosy to almost like have a fit. And with that thought in mind, I want you to know I walked outside. I'm making this Sage's Lifetimes. Hi, I'm James Lynch. Now, I'm not walking around the block. I want you to know that right now, like I would normally do with my cup of coffee. But I'm actually outside on my porch. And guess what I have in my hand? I have a glass of wine. Oh, yes, I do. I have a glass of wine. And I've already taken 2 sips from my glass of wine. Uh, I was already meditating on some subjects or thoughts about writing and books and everything today, and I want to share them with you. But I still wanted to share that other point about what some persons would do at times to uh, the extra nosy people. You know what I mean? And the reason why I also made the distinction between, hey, I'm not walking around the block, I'm actually just sitting on my porch with my glass of wine, is because I forgot what that's called. Even though you're not intoxicated, they could probably still make a charge and say, oh, public intoxication. And that's what nosy people would do just to over exaggerate. But no, make no mistake about it. I'm just sitting on my porch, overhang, patio, if that's what you want to call it, like people do at their cookouts. So I gave all of that, background. I'm still an honest citizen. Now, let me get right back to books and writing. Uh, James Baldwin, in his many interviews, he gave some very interesting interviews way back, you see, in that 60s era, you see, in that time. And one of the reasons why he mentioned he would continue writing is because the information that he was sharing really was so important for people to realize and for it to be out there, that he just said it just came, with the job or what have you. But guess what? He was still thankful, very much appreciative that he had people who did appreciate his work that much that they made sure he got paid for it so that he could continue to live and take care of his family the way that he wanted to. Now, isn't that something? I mentioned that because, see, there are certain factors that technology has brought upon certain industries across the world now, where those same avenues of making an income, making a decent living, it's almost like, they'll mention, just like with artificial intelligence or what have you, it's almost like they proud of some of the jobs that they feel can be phased out and done away with it from, you see, the human interaction. And I continue to mention to you that even though artificial intelligence can run a variety of great reports or what have you, you still need the human element that will actually implement these different decisions and things of the nature. In other words, the artificial intelligence shouldn't still have the final decision on important matters. There just need to be human interaction, and that's what I continue to emphasize. Well, still, when I'm talking about with writing, though, see, he wrote nonfiction books and I believe other just stories as well for the public. You see how valuable those nonfiction essays were important for the public. Well, take myself for example with the Sage Relaxing Sips, though. Uh, when I developed the Sage all those years ago, it was still meant for fictional writings and stories. And I ran into enough people over the years who just don't care too much for fiction in that way at all. And yet, for somebody's mind, like the way that mine is on this level, what have you, I got to tell you that yes, it is a very relaxing, recreational, very much enjoyed outlet all the same. For some of us whose mind and life has been practically just very serious, you see, for decades. And so my whole point is some persons just give them a glass of wine, uh, the resources they need to make the best book, fiction or nonfiction or even science fiction that they can make, and they're happy, and they would be putting out their best work, like James Baldwin did back then. Even though people focus more on his essays, they were his opinion, but they were still taken even as nonfiction, nonfiction analysis of the world of that day, of the communities of that day, really, um, racial interaction or racial harmony or inharmony, and why. And so he would still bring out the reasons why he felt certain ways that he did, especially in his debates. So all of that, even stuff that was based on his opinion, is still thrown right all in there in the nonfiction category and era. Okay. Now, what's so interesting about nonfiction and science fiction stories as well? People will read those accounts of certain authors, and they just know. They would say, "Does this term?" They say, "Oh, you can't make that up. You can't." And you know something? Even though people can make it up, I see why they say what they say, and yet at the same time, people in wisdom do realize often that their author or writer is still drawing from something that could have been his life experience, could have been someone else's life experience. You see, stories that they were told and passed down or what have you. So somewhere down in there, it was based on the premise of, hey, it may not happen exactly like this, but you know what? It still happened. But see, all the factors that surrounded this story or what have you are certainly not in the same way that people may be relating the information. So that's why, I jump right back into nonfiction. You can hear about an account that happened in this event of this person's life. And oh my goodness, if you don't really know exactly what was going on, what happened, the motives and intentions of the actions, how they came about, you can end up looking at the person who is actually the protagonist that people actually want to love. But by the time you get through with the information and the way it was related, you would think the protagonist was actually the villain, and the villain was, oh my God, the saint. Let me have a glass of wine or a sip of wine, okay? So, with all that being said, I've come to appreciate as well that books just don't sell the way that they used to. It depends on who you are. And the point is, if you're not well known, you can still have a person who's putting out very interesting, exciting work. But yet, I've even heard rappers talk about this, that somebody else will still capitalize on it. So if you were already capable of thinking, ooh, I'm doing good, I sold $100 worth of books. Oh, you got a person out there who have multiplied that 10x and more because they have the connections, they have the knowledge, they have the understanding, they have the access. So I get back to James Baldwin's thoughts and words then. about the reason why he continued to write. See, on one hand, I'm like, yeah, he was putting out a lot of nonfiction stuff anyway. And then you have certain persons, creatives and YouTubers today, like myself, who, oh yeah, I talk about a lot of serious stuff that's real and what have you. But then, if you don't, as I mentioned, hit the certain audience that got not only the pockets but the willingness to just go ahead and give you your due, as you know, I always mention, give you your due, then it may not have the same feeling of view. You may not even have the same feeling as view as James Baldwin did about, wait a minute. I'm glad too, Mr. James Baldwin, that you were able to do what you were able to do, but everybody's not able to do that. And so what am I saying in conclusion? I'm saying in conclusion, I keep thinking about like my Worlds novel, that I'm developing, and how I already mentioned that for the year 2026, I've already put out my compact ebooks that I'm going to put out. I always knew that my Worlds novel wouldn't come out at least in this year, really. I didn't really say it, but I just knew it wouldn't. But all the same, sometimes I just wonder, anymore, people who follow you along. I've seen some persons actually take just one or two of my pages from my book, so to speak, and boy, just from that, they're able to go out and just write a whole different novel on their own. And apparently somebody buying it from them. But all the same, then I come to the conclusion, at least with the technology we have in place, even though people are branching off every single time that you may put out a chapter of your work in this way or that way, your work is still the original. It is still the one that hopefully, when you complete it, if people start reading and say, I read this before somewhere or what have you, hopefully it will still be something different that will show that you're the human writer that put all this together, that directed this, that gave instructions, that did the majority of the writing and the dialogue and this and that. You see what I'm saying? For years, people appreciated that authors may have even had ghostwriters, and they didn't give them no, flack for that at all, or what have you. And so they're tools. And so in conclusion, in this, the Sage's Lifetimes, where I'm talking about writing and why we write and things of that nature, there may be times, even in the near future, where you will see me as I'm continuing to develop the Poeartistry LLM. You see, actually connections to certain places and locations of the database and things of that nature that I have in there, and especially including the World's novel that I just may be putting out just on a regular basis, left and right. And I'll have still that buymeacoffee.com/James Poeartistry link. Hopefully somebody will show their appreciation. If not, as I always say, the God Almighty at least know what you're doing as an author, as a writer, why you're doing it. And hopefully he'll move somebody else's heart to still take the leap, if you will, to appreciate your artistic work and view. And hopefully, as I always say again, won't even be influenced by others' people's view on the matter. I always say again, if you like something, if you like somebody, you see, then hopefully you'll always have the fortitude inside your heart to sometimes when you need to say it, or need to even give commendation at times, you'll just do it, All right. Have a very wonderful day and take good care of yourself.